Good afternoon, everybody. This is Chrisi from Solstice ATR and Vulcan. How's everyone today? Happy Saturday afternoon. What I'd like to start with is basically talking about we are still trending, number one. We had liquidation break. We have the Middle East issue and post structure underneath us. So, first of all, let me talk about what can happen in January. We got earning reports, Fed rates that we need to talk about, business cycle, better trade deal between US and China, earnings versus forecast, British exit, conflict in the Middle East and the Persian Gulf, and 2020 increase uncertainty due to the elections. Let's first start by taking a look at the combination of those instruments. We're still in an uptrend. On the weekly chart, the candle still looks green. So let's from here go. We're still in an uptrend, up channel and a narrow channel inside two major cones. Let's take a look at the small cap RTY. Okay, this is the Russell. We're still in these two channels. We have a cone here. We retrace part of it back to down here. I had a sharper, channel here, which we broke out of. We had 2 weeks in a row consolidation coming back in. If this candle does not hold and breaks this channel, resets back here, the 18 SMA is your first line and the 38.2 fib and the oval here. That would be the 50% and the 50% fib as well as the 50 SMA. If we're going to continue and go higher, if everything's still working out with the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the S&P, the NASDAQ, then the Russell will continue to fill this section here in the gap up. Let's take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the YM. The YM is still in a similar situation here. It's in an up or wider channel. We have two minor ones and a sharper one here. This one came in a little bit and went back up. We're still in consolidation in an uptrend. So the Dow does not represent the 14,500, because it's more of a concentrated 30 companies in the US. Let's take a look at the NQ, the NASDAQ 100. The NASDAQ 100, if you can see on the weekly, still in continuation to the upside. Let's just zoom down. So you can see these two major channels. The computer grabbed one wider and I put two yellow ones here. Are we still in an uptrend? Yes. Can we retrace back? Of course we can. Let's see what the S&P will do in the coming week and the NASDAQ. Remember, earnings going to start appearing. We got the British exit next week. They're going to sign off on it. Let's see what the reaction would be in it. And second, the week after that, around the 14th, I think the American between China and US, that will sign the first deal in January 14th. That's what it's scheduled for. So if I zoom in here, we're still in an uptrend. I got these two yellows and I got these two blue lines. Due to the Persian Iran-Iraq crisis in the United States, hitting and taking out their general, looks like that we had a small reset. Nobody even cared and we continued higher. Let's see what this outlook would be for the week on it. Let's look at the daily here. The daily S&P, the major prominent part is 2969 area down here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 gaps we never filled. Remember, this has the overnight. This is what happened due to the reaction in the market in the overnight. And I tweeted it on Twitter and said, about 6:30, 7 o'clock that night, if we clear and we stay above 3200 and 3218 area, we'll continue higher to fill the gap, and we continued higher on it. On Friday, we had a small little reset back in. We closed a little lower. That's fine as long as we can hold the 58 area and the 31.55. It's going to be a very important area to hold. If we don't, then be careful of it because we may have a small little problem in it. Okay, and I kept it, and I kept this wick here because this gap still there, and this gap here at the 32.12 quarter 32.13 is still active. We have not filled those two gaps and the ones lower. So let's look at it a little bit more closely on using the monkey bars. I'm going to go style, chart, and go to monkey bars. And the monkey bars, if you notice, this is the daily. This is 3 month, 1 day. And it shows you, this is the year. Every month it's giving us a year. So if I come in here, I go to 20 day, 78 minute. It's going to cram it up. Is that okay? If we notice, this was yesterday's action volume profile. Let's just start from here. Was that including that night there? If you notice, we had the puck higher around the 82 area. We fell through it and we ended up closing around the 63.50 on Friday. So in the most major volume, that's the permanent puck here. That's the puck, that's the value area high, value area high. And remember, we had the overnight high 32.88, which we never took out. So is this going to be fixed because it's a flat top, or do we get a reset lower? So keep an eye on that. And if you noticed here, we have this puck here, which we already visited, took out from the day before. We still have the 58 area from 2 days ago, which we never revisited. And this is the puck that we have to keep an eye on. Where is it? Is it this one? No, it should be here somewhere. I think it's this one. Why is it doing that? Huh, interesting. Something is wrong with my, let's go 5 days. Maybe it'll fix the problem. Okay. There it is. Okay, that's the 58 area, which we never revisited. So keep an eye on that one. This is the overnight action that we had in the Middle East. We opened up in this area and we continued to go higher, and we closed up here at the 60 area. So far, we've retested the 60 here. We had a 60.75. We ended up closing around the 63.50, 64 area. So if the 58 is violated, look for the reset a little bit lower. Using the volume profile, this is what you call a liquidation break. This happened in the overnight, and we rallied it back into the value area of the day before, and we ended up closing above the prior high from the day before. So this is one thing to recognize. Then we had a consolidation day. We continued higher, then we looked up in the overnight, and we fell in on Friday. So are we still bullish? Yes, unless the sentiment changes and we get a liquidation break and we end up continuing lower and the volume will pick up. Let's go back from doing the regular candles. Go back to candle standards. This is the daily. We're still in an uptrend. What I want to do is show you just a 15-minute, 5-day action. Not overnight. These are the gray areas that basically they look like they never happened, but they are between the euro and the Asian market. And this is all open, and this is usually the high and wherever we close. So this is the black shaded area. If you notice, we were short the 73, 78 area. We had a target of 53, 54, 56. We ended up to be going down to the 60, 75, came back up. In this area, the 53 and the 58 is going to be very important area if we end up losing it on Monday. So pay attention to the technicals, trade what you see, not what you think. Let's go back to the daily. And I'll scan through a couple of different instruments. Let's take a look at, first of all, Apple, AAPL. AAPL still in an uptrend. This is the channel on it. You got the 18 SMA, we're still continuation. Keep an eye if you lose the 305 area. That's going to be very important You have the 18 SMA, then the backside of this channel to see if it holds it. Amazon. Yeah, Amazon had a nice, week continuation up. We called that week up, but yesterday on Friday it had a little bit weakness in it. It came back in. As long as it holds the 1870, it's very important for Amazon to hold. Let's take a look at BABA. BABA has a new high for the year. It closed basically almost new, a little bit bullish because it gapped up, continued high, and fell back in and closed in the upper level $2 higher. It's got like a shooting star right there. Let's take a look at BDU. BDU's trying basically to fill the gap. Remember, we had those two ovals we kept in here looking to see if it comes back to fill the partial gap. We filled this one here. We go in the second gap. We still got one from here to here in order to continue. It's 2/3 back into this area. Is it going to fill? Possibility. If not, look for the cup to continue higher. That's BDU. Let's take a look at Facebook. Facebook finally did a double top. We had 100% at 218.63. We closed a little higher than the prior annual high from a year ago. Facebook. Let's take a look at Google. Google is in an uptrend, still, grinding higher. It had a, small little start. It stayed, positive for the day. So it's still in an up channel. As long as they don't lose the 18 SMA, the channel, and the 50, we're still bullish. Let's take a look at Netflix. Netflix had a small little reversal back down, but below the 325, 320 area. I would be careful of Netflix. If Netflix can go back and U-turn and come back higher, because we had these two major channels, we're still in that uptrend. We have a sharper one here, which you can draw. Keep an eye on it. If it falls through the 18, look for the 38.2 fib for consolidate, because this was the first consolidation that it fell down from. Couldn't go back up. Came back here, retested it, fell down, retested it, came back down, went back up, retested here, the consolidation area. You can see as it's going to act as support. If we hold here and go back up, that would be great. Let's take a look at Tesla. Tesla basically is the widow maker that took everybody out, above the 378 from the prior year, and it continued higher. It almost reached $500. The annual high on it, if you look at this candle, was 498.80 cents. Is this going to continue higher? Possibility. If it consolidates inside baselines in this area above, the 440 area, 435, in order to continue high and eventually fill the 500 area and 535, that would be a good area to look at. Because if I take this low here, the 402, to the annual high, and we do a small fib, I'll show you the extension. You take the Fibonacci's, you grab this candle here below the 402.08. We're just going to do it this way, and we measure it to the upside. And what you'll see on the upper area here, this is why I'm calling the the 500 and eventually the 535. What I'll do, I'll zoom in here so that way you guys can see it. So a little bit more. This is the extension, if we consolidate in this area, the 440, 450, 445, and come back up. I'm not saying it's going to come back. This is a very important area. It doesn't fall through this channel because it'll eventually hit the 18 SMA in the prior 435 where it broke out of. I would like to see, Tesla go sideways between the the 480 and 455 in order to make a cup, then eventually break the 500, continue, and eventually get to the 535. That's Tesla. Let's take a look at Win. And Win result looks like, this is the annual high, this is the annual low. It looks like it's going to triple top. This had a, inverted hanging hammer or hanging man. So let's see if it's it's going to be able to hold this area, the 442, in order to continue up or eventually fall back down. Let's go back to ES, and what I'd like to do in ES, just to give you a little bit of an area on the hourly chart. That way it'll help you understand what we're looking at and what we're trying to accomplish. If you notice, this was the prior high last time when we went up at the 32.63.50. Eventually, that happened in the overnight. We couldn't take it out. We only ended up closing around in that day around the prior was in the 60. We had a couple of poor highs, and this was at 67. We had a poor high. We went looked above it, came back in. So we fixed this area. But in the overnight, if they consider this area high and they consider this, that doesn't have to be retested, and we're going to end up continuing lower, and we cannot take out the 32.72.75 area back up. Be careful of it losing the 58. The 58 will set us around the 39. The 39 will come back to the 32. 28 area. This is a very important area because we had a lot of consolidation. If you take the range between this area here and this area here, the midpoint of it is about 32, 34 to 28. This is a very important area that we don't lose it in order to continue higher. And if we end up losing that first gap here, the 32.13, 32.12, because remember, these happened in the overnight. So I'm not counting them in, but it is possible. That was basically a liquidation break, then filled the gap up as if nothing happened in the Middle East, and we continued higher. We consolidated a little bit higher from that was the Wednesday in the United States action because Euro had a mixed bag. China had it, and Australia had a down day. Then we had a side action on Thursday to up. Then we looked above on Friday. We couldn't get to the overnight high. We stayed around the 70, I believe, 78 quarter. Then we fell down in the 75. We consolidated a little bit. We tested the 69 area, 68, looked back to the 78, came back down, broke the 66 area, 68, and we fell down to the 60. I had a target of 56 that day. We tested the 60 and went back up. In the after hours, we closed a little bit lower. That's fine. But if there's going to be consolidation and this thing going to hold this area here and here, and we don't lose, come back to the 34, we may continue higher. So I am not bearish still until the sentiment changes and we are getting liquidations break. Keep an eye on the liquidation breaks. If the PPL team or the short-term traders are buying back the market, if volume picks up to the downside, change your sentiment, change your thinking, and go to the other side. I wish everybody the best. Look forward to seeing you next week at Solstice ATR or Vulcan Capital Research. We are on Discord, and take care.